The Cleveland Browns, man. What do you like about the Cleveland Browns so far, man?
Everything. My visit there, and when amazing. I got to actually meet, the Shedeur, the receiver coach, the GMs,
He said it. When I came here on my visit, I got to meet with Shedeur. He didn't say I got to meet with Dylan Gabriel. He didn't say I got to meet with Deshaun Watson.
Concepcion is going viral for what he said about Shedeur Sanders. And let's be real, Browns fans are already turning this into a full quarterback conspiracy board. Because the second Casey talked about his visit to Cleveland and said he got to meet Shedeur, people jumped on it immediately. He did not lead with Deshaun Watson. He did not lead with Dylan Gabriel. He said Shedeur. And here's the part nobody is talking about. Sometimes players accidentally tell you what the building is already feeling before the team officially says it.
He said it. When I came here on my visit, I got to meet with Shedeur. He didn't say I got to meet with Dylan Gabriel. He didn't say I got to meet with Deshaun Watson. They are telling y'all who QB1 is. The anybody but Shedeur Mafia might crash out. Keep your cars off the highway. They might intentionally crash into you because they are that mad. KC.
Now, does that mean the Browns have already named Shedeur QB1? Not officially. Let's not act like one comment locks the depth chart, but it does tell you something. Concepcion sounded excited about the Cleveland Browns because of the relationships he built there, and Shedeur's name came up naturally. That matters. Young players pay attention to who the future feels like. They pay attention to who has energy in the building. They pay attention to who people are talking about. And right now, Shedeur Sanders is clearly one of the loudest names around this team. This is where it gets dangerous, because Cleveland media and Browns fans are already divided after the draft. Some people love what Andrew Berry did. Some people are furious. Some people are acting like the Browns ruined the whole draft because they did not take the exact names they wanted. And that is where Casey's comment becomes gasoline on the fire. Because if you already believe the Browns are building around Shedeur, then Casey saying he met Shedeur during his visit sounds like confirmation. But if you are not sold on Shedeur, now you are annoyed before the season even starts.
Into a guy who has great speed, a lot of talent, but also has had drops. 19 drops, I think, is the number that was counted. He's had a lot of drops. There are the only
that is
thing,
a lot,
the
man.
thing
that
I
does,
can do to
that
talk.
That does kind of fly right in your face.
Exactly
like,
right.
Wow.
And
let's talk about the actual picks, because that is where this whole conversation starts. The Browns took Fano to help fix the offensive line, and then they added Concepcion as a weapon. That is not some crazy plan. That is basic football logic. If you are going to develop any quarterback, you need protection and playmakers. You need a tackle who can keep the pocket clean, and you need a receiver who can create quick yards. So even if you remove the Shedeur hype completely, the pick still makes sense. Here's the part nobody is talking about. People are acting like Concepcion is some random receiver Cleveland talked itself into. He is not. He is quick, explosive, versatile, and dangerous with the ball in his hands. He can play in the slot, he can help in the return game, and he can be used on screens, motions, reverses, and short throws that make life easier for a quarterback. That is exactly the kind of weapon a young passer needs. He does not have to be Tyreek Hill. He just has to be a problem defenses have to account for.
if he does really, really well, and the Browns aren't doing so well, I mean, if they both are great, then hey, what the hell, right? But if the Browns aren't doing so well and Mekhi Lemon's doing really well, that's going to go right against Andrew Berry.
Now, yes, the drops are real. Let's not lie about that. Cleveland media brought it up, and fans are nervous because they have every right to be nervous. If KC drops one in week 1, people are going to lose their minds. They're going to pull up every pre-draft concern, every missed catch, every stat, and say, see, this is what we warned you about. That is just how Browns fans operate after years of disappointment. They do not need much to panic. This is where young players usually make a mistake. They let one weakness become their whole identity. KC cannot do that. If the drops are concentration-based, then he has to attack that every day. Because the talent is obvious, the burst is obvious, the playmaking is obvious. But in Cleveland, potential will not save you if the ball hits your hands and falls to the ground. Browns fans have seen too much losing to be patient with basic mistakes. But here's why I still understand the pick. The Browns needed a weapon who could add juice without needing 10 targets a game. KC can be that guy. He can catch a quick screen and make 3 people miss. He can flip field position as a returner. He can line up in different spots and force defenses to communicate. And if Shedeur is eventually taking snaps, those easy touches matter. A quarterback does not always need a receiver to win 40 yards downfield. Sometimes he needs a guy who can turn a simple throw into something explosive. And that is why the Shedeur connection is going viral, because fans are not just hearing KC say a name, they're imagining the offense. Shedeur in the pocket, Fano protecting, KC moving across the formation, quick throws, tempo, energy, a young offensive identity. That is what people are reacting to. It's not just the quote, it's the picture the quote creates. Now, let's be fair to the media side too. Some Cleveland voices are not wrong for being cautious. Andrew Berry has not built unlimited trust with this fan base. When you only win 8 games in 2 years, people are not going to automatically clap for every pick. That is just reality. Fans are tired. They want results. So when Berry drafts a tackle switching sides and a receiver with drop concerns, of course people are going to say, okay, prove it.
I still think that classically went down. You looked at Spencer Fano. He was the first offensive lineman off the board. And then you look at a safety. Safeties are always going to be the conversation. Guards and safeties, it's always supposed to be, you're never supposed to take them very, very high. And so for him to fall to 11, where the Cowboys moved up one spot with the Dolphins, made that switch so they could go get him, I'm not surprised by that by the Cowboys, and I'm also not surprised that he ended up falling out of the top 10 because of those classic thoughts. Like, that is another thing that is going to be hard to talk ourselves out of.
Here's the part nobody is talking about. The trade down from 6 to 9 was still smart. Even some frustrated fans admit that. If the Browns got the guy they wanted at 9 and picked up more value, that is good draft management. You can hate the front office and still admit the move made sense. The real argument is not whether trading down was smart. The real argument is whether Spencer Fano and Concepcion were the right players to bet on. With Fano, the concern is the move back to left tackle. People are nervous because Browns fans have seen experiments before. They have heard the versatility talk before. They have seen players moved around and then watched it not work. So when they hear Fano played right tackle and now he is expected to be the left tackle, they get nervous. That is understandable. But the difference is, Fano has actually played left tackle before and played it well. He moved because Utah needed him to, not because he could not handle it. This is where it gets dangerous, because if Fano works, Andrew Berry is going to look smart. If he struggles, every critic is going to bring up the draft board and say Cleveland outsmarted itself again. That is the pressure. The Browns did not just draft the lineman. They drafted a potential franchise left tackle. That comes with expectation. And if Shedeur is part of the bigger plan, then Fano's development becomes even more important. Now, with KC, the reaction is more emotional, because wide receivers are easy to judge in real time. A tackle can have a solid game and casual fans might miss it, but a receiver drops a pass and everybody sees it. That is why people are already holding their breath. They know he has speed, they know he has talent, but they are scared the drops will show up at the worst possible moment. And honestly, that is fair. But again, this is where young players usually make a mistake. They try to prove everybody wrong all at once. KC does not need to do that. He needs to become reliable first. Catch the easy ones, earn the trust, then let the explosive plays come naturally. Because once the quarterback trusts him, that's when his whole game opens up. And if that quarterback is Shedeur Sanders, the chemistry could become one of the biggest stories in Cleveland. The fan call-in reactions tell you everything about where Browns fans are mentally. Some people are so angry they are combining names and calling players Spencer Concepcion because they don't like either pick. That is funny, but it also shows the frustration. This fan base is not just reacting to one draft. They are reacting to years of feeling let down. Every pick gets judged through old pain. Every decision becomes a referendum on Andrew Berry. And that is why KC's Shedeur comment exploded, because Shedeur represents something different to a lot of fans. He represents belief. He represents a new direction. He represents the idea that maybe the Browns finally have a young quarterback with personality, confidence, and a real fan base behind him. So when a new receiver says he met Shedeur and seems excited about Cleveland, fans immediately say, see, they know who the guy is. Here's the part nobody is talking about. The Browns don't even have to announce anything for the pressure to start building. The fan base is already creating the timeline. They are already imagining Shedeur as QB1. They are already judging draft picks based on how they help him. That is powerful, but it is also dangerous, because if the coaching staff moves slower than the fan base wants, the tension will grow fast. And that is the real story here. Concepcion didn't just go viral because he said Shedeur's name. He went viral because he said it at the exact moment Browns fans were looking for clues. Fans wanted to know what the Browns were thinking. They wanted to know if the front office really believes in Shedeur. They wanted to know if these offensive picks were connected to him. And KC gave them just enough to run with. Now the legacy angle is bigger than one quote. If Cleveland actually builds this the right way, this could be remembered as the draft where the Browns stopped leaving quarterbacks unsupported. Get the tackle, add the weapon, build the room, let the young quarterback compete. That's what serious teams do. They don't just throw a quarterback into a broken offense and then blame him when it fails. But if this falls apart, the criticism is going to be brutal, because fans will say Andrew Berry had another chance to fix the offense and still missed it. They will say he passed on better players. They will say he tried to be too smart. They will say KC's drops were obvious, Fano's transition was risky, and the Browns ignored the warning signs. That's the fine line Cleveland is walking right now. So let's call it what it is. Concepcion going viral for mentioning Shedeur Sanders is not just a cute rookie moment. It's a sign of where the conversation around the Browns is headed. Every offensive move is going to be viewed through the Shedeur lens. Every receiver pick, every lineman pick, every practice clip, every interview answer. That is the world Cleveland is walking into now. And now I want to know what you think. Did KC accidentally reveal what the Browns already know, that Shedeur Sanders is the future of this offense? Or are fans reaching because they want Shedeur to be QB1 so badly that every little comment feels like proof? Because if Shedeur and KC start clicking, Cleveland media is going to have to deal with a fan base that won't shut up about it. But if the picks struggle, the same fans defending this draft today might be the first ones calling it another Andrew Berry mistake.